You're listening to the Bob Dutko Show. And so what are we to make of John McCain? And apparently John McCain saying he's not an Episcopalian, he's a Baptist. McCain was, he was raised a Baptist, raised an Episcopalian, and he's referred to himself as Episcopalian for a long time. However, he was asked by reporters about his faith, and when an Associated Press reporter asked him how his Episcopalian faith played a role in his campaign and his life, McCain said, quote, "It plays a role in my life. By the way, I'm not Episcopalian, I'm Baptist. Do I advertise my faith? Do I talk about it all the time? No." But then when asked earlier this year if he's been baptized, he said, "No. My wife and kids have been, but," he says, quote, "I don't find it necessary to do so for my spiritual needs." What do we take from this, and how important is this? David Jeffers is a lay preacher and retired Army Master Sergeant, author of the book Understanding Evangelicals, A Guide to Jesus' Land, and joins us now. Mr. Jeffers, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Bob. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you so much. All right, there's so many different things here that are standing out to me. I mean, one of them right away is when John McCain says that he didn't get baptized himself. He says, quote, "I didn't find it necessary to do so for my spiritual needs." I'm not trying to look for an excuse to beat up on a war hero, but my spiritual needs, the word "my" really stands out, and I think to myself, wait a second, baptism, last time I checked my Bible, was something that Jesus instructed us to do as an act of obedience and openly declare. It's not for the purpose of my own spiritual needs, but as an act of obedience and publicly declaring my allegiance to Jesus Christ.
Yeah, exactly, and that's what I commented on. And I'm like you. I don't want to beat up on the man. And I was talking to a reporter from Washington Times last night. And I told him, it's a shame to see this happening with him. He's such a great American war hero.
Right.
It's clearly a case, in my mind, it's clearly a case of pandering. I mean, here you are in South Carolina, probably one of the most Baptist states in America. And it's been well known that he's an Episcopalian. And for him to make that comment and then to say what he said shows that he doesn't understand what baptism is about. It doesn't even follow the tenets of his own church that you can read on their own website.
Right.
When I heard it, I said, "You got to be kidding me! I can't believe he actually."
Yeah, that was kind of. Now, what about this statement of his? He says, "Quote: The most important thing is that I am a Christian." Now, I do got to give him credit there. He was actually willing to use the C word instead of merely just the general, "I am a person of faith," or whatever. I mean, he was actually willing to use the C word, Christian. So should that maybe kind of carry some extra weight?
Well, I mean, yeah, if that's in fact the case, and I'm not, as a Baptist and a member of a church that's part of the Southern Baptist Convention, I'm not looking for that.
Yeah.
Particularly. I mean, he doesn't have to, hit all the Baptist check marks. I mean, like my pastor said, the last two Southern Baptists we had in office were miserable failures in the form of Bill Clinton and Jimmy Carter.
Sure.
But don't claim to be that. When it was like out of nowhere.
Right.
And that's the part. Stop pandering. One thing I wrote about in my book in the first chapter about who are evangelicals, because Democrats do this really well. As you say, we're people of faith.
Right.
I have my faith, and when you're pandering to the Christian right, it's so obvious. I mean,
sure.
We are probably the last voting bloc in America that you should try to pander to, because it's not needing to know the words and all. That's another thing I heard. We got to learn the language, and it's not a language; it's a lifestyle, and they don't understand that. And
well, Howard Dean, actually, the chairman of the Democratic Party, Howard Dean even admitted. He talked about this openly, that we need to go after the evangelical Christian vote. We need to understand them more. We need to speak their language. We need to, so it's not even like they've done this covertly. They've just come right out and said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna try to court the evangelical Christian vote."
Right, and I would expect that from Howard Dean and Hillary Clinton, but from a self-avowed conservative like John McCain, especially after what he did in 2000 in the state of South Carolina with the Bob Jones incident.
Yeah.
He said about Christians, it can't be anything other than pandering.
Well, the last time I had Senator McCain on the show was, I think, maybe 3-4 months ago. I asked him about that and tried to ask him about his faith and whatever. And it's just not comfortable talking about it. You could just tell the squirm factor was high. And what is it about politicians that they want Christians to vote for them, they want us to perceive them as Christians, but then they don't want to talk about their faith? I don't understand that.
I think that's the case with anybody who proclaims to be a Christian, and when you just start scratching the surface, you get that discomfort. 80% of America claims to be a Christian. That means you go to the mall, 8 out of 10 people you see there are Christians. I just don't think that holds up to scrutiny. So I think it's not just, it is especially illuminated with politicians, but any person that you talk to on the street who says, oh yeah, I'm a Christian, you scratch the surface and say, really, what does that mean? And now they're stuck. You get that deer in the headlights look.
Sure. Well, it seems like politically you need to be perceived as a Christian, or I don't think you can get elected. I mean, I hate to say it, but politically I think it's necessary. If somebody actually said, I'm not a Christian, I mean, if Fred Thompson won't touch the issue, but if he actually said, no, I'm not a Christian, next question,
he'd be done.
He'd be toast. So I think they know they have to be perceived as a Christian, even if they're not. And again, neither one of us can know a man's heart except God, so I'm not claiming to know whether John McCain is a Christian or not. But I do know it's troubling when anyone, Republican or Democrat alike, whenever they say, and when John McCain says the same stuff Hillary's been saying, I don't talk about my faith. I don't talk about it openly. That's a private matter. It's like, well, that's not what it means to be a Christian. That's not what it says in the Bible.
Yeah, it's not what it means. Again, I wrote that in my book, and I would really encourage your listeners to get it because it's a little primer that I wrote to help explain this to not just secular politicians in the secular world on the liberal left, but to us who do describe ourselves as Christians and evangelicals, why we take the stands that we take. And it's a quick read. It's real easy to understand. Mm-hmm. And it helps us, to tell them why we believe the things we do, and get those who don't understand it why we take the stand we do.
Right.
And
is there a website, by the way, for people to go to?
I mean, it's on Amazon, so you can get it on Amazon. It's probably where you're going to get the best deal. But if you'd like to get a signed copy from me, just email me or actually go to my website, understandingevangelicals.com, and I'd be glad to give you a personalized copy. But you can get it at Amazon or Barnes & Noble online, Target, all the other, all main major outlets.
All right, very good. It's understandingevangelicals.com and David Jeffers. David, I appreciate you being with us today. Thank you for your analysis.
Bob, I really appreciate it, and I appreciate everything about Christian radio and what they're doing. You guys are truly the light. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, David. Appreciate it. You're listening to The Bob Dutko Show, and you can email me, Bob, at WMUZ.com. Also encourage you to check out the Bob Dutko page. Just go to WMUZ.com, click on Bob Dutko, see what we've got there.